Sticky Wicket, the official Somerset County Cricket Club podcast.
And Somerset have reached their second successive T20 final.
And it's that man Waller again. He's got a safe pair of hands.
Then there's a big appeal and that's out. Chris Taylor's gone LBW to Alfonso Thomas. Is this to be the moment? Craig Keyswetter comes down the track, drives through extra cover. He'll get 4 runs for it. They only needed 1.
Butler does try to go for the big hit. Has he got hold of it? It's sailed over long on, and it's 6.
Sticky Wicket.
Hello, I'm Ian Burridge and welcome to Sticky Wicket, the brand new podcast from Somerset County Cricket Club. With me this time and every time we do a podcast is Spencer Bishop, Commercial Executive of the Cricket Club. Hello, Spencer.
Hello, it sounds very snazzy. Commercial Executive, doesn't it? I like it.
I'm only repeating the title you told me to say. Now, what we'll do at the beginning of every podcast is run through some of the headlines that you, the fan, might be interested to know. And one of the interesting things about the podcast that I'm going to get out of it is I'm approaching this very much as a fan as well, from a fan's point of view, which is why we've got Spencer here as well, because he's very much approaching this from a club point of view. That's fair enough to say, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm here to hopefully shed light on any issues you've got to look at. OK,
we'll start first of all then with probably the biggest news of the close season, which only happened in the last couple of days, is the fact that, of course, we say goodbye to one chief executive and hello to a brand new one. What's the story with that?
Absolutely. Obviously, Richard Gold has been here for a while and has moved on to Surrey. So obviously Somerset were looking for a new chief executive or CEO. As we like abbreviations, don't we? Everyone likes an abbreviation. And it was announced that Mr. Guy Lavender will be stepping into the role of Chief Executive, and we're all very much looking forward to that. OK, we'll talk more about Guy and what his role around the club will be in just a moment, but also a couple of other things as well, that we're welcoming the world champions. India will be coming to the county ground. Absolutely. I mean, it was always fantastic to get India here, because I think that when it was announced that they were coming down, they were the number one test side in the world. Obviously, they've got some fantastic players. Obviously, everyone knows Sachin Tendulkar and people like that. But obviously, we've had the ICC Cricket World Cup finishing not that long ago, and India winning that. You know, it's quite a coup, isn't it, to have the world champions coming to Taunton? It's fantastic for everyone involved.
And lastly, in our sort of headlines bit in this podcast is the fact that the county ground's moving, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we didn't like where it was, so we're moving it slightly to the left.
Not quite as nitpicky as that, though, is it?
No, we're really not moving it slightly to the left. We should probably make that clear. No, we've got obviously the 2020 cricket again this season. 8 home games. And Somerset have decided that one of those games, obviously we take a game each season to Bath, and one of those games is going to be the 2020 match against Essex, which is going to be on Monday the 4th of July, and it's going to be quite a sight down there. Obviously we're going down there and working with Bath Rugby at the site of the Rec, so yeah, Bath is going to stage one of the home 2020 matches. There are 8 in total home games which your 2020 membership covers, and one of those games, as I say, will be in Bath.
Sticky Wicket.
Somerset are into the final.
Round the ground.
Each time we do a podcast, we're going to look at different aspects behind the cricket club, things that go on behind the scenes. This time round, it's the turn of Simon Lee. He's responsible, with his team, for the state of the pitch. Obviously, a lot of people come to cricket to watch the cricket, and very rarely at Somerset the talking point is the pitch. So how do you manage to keep it so flat and so playable?
Well, we're lucky in this respect that we have a solid base, and it helps us prepare wickets which are good for batting on. But obviously, for 4-day cricket over the last couple of years, we've been trying to make it a bit fairer for bat and ball, and I think last year was a good sign that things were going that way.
So what do you have to do to prepare for the start of a new season?
Well, we basically start off by taking off the old grass, reseeding and top dressing with some different soils just to replace everything that's been used up and gone in the season. And then we do little things like aerating, which is putting deep spikes into the ground, getting moisture and air into the base of it so the roots grow down, and that then binds everything together and helps us prepare a good pitch, really.
And what are the processes between matches when the season's in full swing? Because obviously it's a pretty chocker fixture list as well, isn't it?
It is. It's difficult to try and get everything right because we do have so little time, but it's generally a lot of watering to keep the moisture in the surface, a lot of reseeding to get pitches back because we haven't got enough pitches on the square to have a fresh pitch every game. So we're constantly trying to renew pitches so we can get them back for the start of this next game, sort of September time. And really, it's just a lot of sort of cutting grass and just making things looking presentable, really.
Well, it always looks a fantastic ground to come and watch a game of cricket. So how many of you in the team to do this?
Well, there's 4 of us all together in the ground staff, but there's only 3 of us based in the summer at the county ground. Another member of the ground staff is based at Taunton Vale, which is where the seconds play most of their games. And I say there's 2 guys that do the work on the field, myself and Dan Stabak, and Martin Frost, who's the maintenance guy. But then he also helps out during the match days with covers and nets and things like that.
And that's the other thing, of course, you know, with the weather being so unpredictable in this country, what measures do you have to keep the pitch as playable as possible? Not just when there's no games going on, but maybe during a match as well.
Well, we're covering the ground all season long, so we started covering last week. Luckily, the weather's good at the moment, so we're not. But we'll be covering for 6 months when the games are on, when the games aren't on, just to make sure everything stays dry and playable, really. And it does take a lot of time just to cover up. It's a good half hour to an hour of every day uncovering in the morning and then covering back up at the night. And it can be a bit of a push sometimes during match days. Obviously, when you get rain delays and stuff, it can be a heavy workload sometimes. But, you know, we all know our jobs, and we got a pretty good system, so we managed to get there in the end.
And you keep an eye on the weather forecast, obviously?
Constantly, yeah. We've got a radar now. Luckily, we've got a computer, so we can have a look if we have got a wet day, and we can sort of try and track it and try and guess if something's going to happen or not, so we can sort of prepare ourselves a little bit.
Let's just have another quick look at one of those headlines we opened the podcast with, but in a bit more detail. And of course, one of the things that's quite a major change is the change of CEO, Chief Executive. Richard Gould, no longer here. Of course, he was here for about 6 years or so, and major changes to the ground and to the club as a whole. But we've got a new man in charge, and Spencer Bishop, the commercial executive from the Cricket Club, touched on this a little earlier on. So what exactly is Guy Lavender? What's his role here going to be, and how is he going to take the club a little further forward?
I guess the message is, more of the same. We've been so successful in the last few years. The ground is starting to look fantastic. If we can keep improving the ground and improving on and off the field, I think that's essentially why Mr. Lavender has been brought in. He's been successful, I believe, in his recent ventures, obviously with regards to the Olympics and bringing some of the sailing events down to the southwest. He's got an impressive background, and hopefully there'll be a few trophies in the cabinet towards the end of the season.
Well, any regular visitor to the county ground can't help but notice, of course, there'll be buildings springing up around the perimeter of the ground on a relatively regular basis. I mean, even as we speak now, the finishing touches to some new seating area in front of the Ondaatje pavilion. So that's kind of, I suppose, Richard's legacy, and we kind of looked for more of the same, perhaps, from Guy Lavender in years to come.
Absolutely. I mean, the ground is still fantastic. It's almost unrecognisable to how it was even sort of 6 years ago. But I think what has been successful is the fact that you look at it and it still is a cricket ground. Although we've got some major developments. I mean, the long room and county room look fantastic. The Somerset stand is an incredible place to watch from as well. It's still a ground. You see other cricket grounds, and they're cricket stadiums in inverted commas. Whereas, although there has been development, it still has that county ground sort of reality to it, if you like, which I think is fantastic, and hopefully that will continue to improve. And like you say, whilst things improve off the field with developments and things, if things can continue how they have been on the field as well, then I think we're looking in pretty good shape.
Sticky Wicket.
What a good catch.
And over with
Steve Kirby, 9.
What are you better known as around the club, and why?
Tango. Apparently my name is Tango. Don't ask me why.
Which of Somerset's bowlers would you least like to face?
Probably Jamal or Charles Willoughby, to be honest. Preferably, Charles because he swings it so late, and he most likely will hit me on the big toe. And Jamal just because he gets so much bounce and swing, really.
Who has the best sense of humour in the dressing room?
Peter Trigo thinks he has. But to be honest, they're all a funny bunch. It's a fantastic dressing room to be involved in, to be honest.
What music do you listen to before a match?
Bit of everything, really. I love a bit of Coldplay or Red Hot Chili Peppers.
What would you be doing if you weren't a professional cricketer?
Good question, really. I've tried a bit of everything. I've been a sales director for a flooring company. Stacked shelves in Argos. Put ducting up at Sellafield. I'd have done anything really just to get a decent job. I love my coaching. Just anything involving cricket, I just love it.
What was your first car and what are you driving now?
My first car was a Renault 5, particularly likened to a tin of Spam. And the car I drive at the minute is a Jaguar XF, so a little bit different.
When you are relaxing, what's your favourite drink?
Pint of lager.
Somerset County Cricket Club. Sticky Wicket.
What with this being the first podcast from Somerset County Cricket Club of this season, you won't be aware that we're after your questions. I, from a fan's perspective, might not be able to answer them in quite as much detail as Spencer, who's here with me every podcast, but that's your role, really, from an official Somerset County Cricket Club point of view. So how would anyone get in touch?
Well, if somebody wants to send me an email to spencerb@somersetcountycc.co.uk.
Okay, and of course we'll choose a couple of questions at random each podcast, and with a bit of luck we'll be able to answer some of them in the coming weeks. What fixtures have we got to look ahead to?
The next home match is a CB40 encounter on Monday the 2nd of May when Glamorgan are the visitors here to Taunton.
Well, for now, from Ian Burridge and Spencer Bishop, thank you very much for listening to this, the first of the Somerset County Cricket Club podcasts. Hope you've heard enough to want to come back and hear the next instalment. If for any reason you'd like to get in touch, then the email address was given earlier on, that's spencerb@somersetcountycc.co.uk. And we look forward to being able to answer some of your questions on the next podcast. Until then, goodbye for now.
Sticky Wicket, the official Somerset County Cricket Club podcast.
Somerset have won by 6 wickets here. They've won ever so comfortably in the end. As Trescothick goes after that, hits it high over the top. 6 runs. There's Marcus Trescothick's 50 up in double quick time. He has bludgeoned the Kent attack, whatever they've thrown at him. And qualification is just round the corner.
Sticky Wicket, the official Somerset County Cricket Club podcast. A How Loud production.